Hey guys, sorry, my skin is like so sensitive right now. Um, I turned off this light because I thought I wasn't gonna need it, but I'm just gonna put it there a little bit so it's not too bright, but I can still read my stuff. Okay. So this is Sunday. Happy Sunday. I'm sitting in here doing my Bible study, and I'm reading in Isaiah 10. And this was so good, and I got like a whole preaching out of it, teaching, something. I just want to share with you guys a word that I want to share with you guys. And it's called woe to the enemy when the enemy gets cocky. And we are reading in Isaiah 10, and I'm reading around Isaiah chapter 10, verse, starting around like verse 20 or so. But let me backtrack a little bit. So, throughout the book of Isaiah, Isaiah is warning the people of Israel of their idolatry. He's warning them of their idol worship and all of these things, and they're not listening. And he's saying, the Assyrians are coming, and they're going to bring you into exile, and they're going to make you their slaves. And they still don't listen. Anyways, this happens. And it talks about God's judgment. So now we're getting to the part where the Lord has used the king of Assyria to pronounce his judgment on Jerusalem. On the godless people, there is a remnant, but he's used Assyria to pronounce judgment on the godless people of the nation. And I'm sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm not at my desk. I'm still here because I'm still going to be here for a little bit studying, but I'm trying to, okay. I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm trying to figure out where I should start from. There's so much to talk about. Okay. So after he uses them and judges the people and they're in exile, that's when the king of Assyria messes up and starts to get cocky. Let me just read you what he says here. So God says, but when the Lord finishes all his work against Mount Zion and Jerusalem, he will say, I will punish the king of Assyria for his arrogant acts and the proud look in his eyes. For he said, this is what that stupid, this is so dumb. This is what that king said. I have done all this of my own strength and wisdom, for I am clever. I abolished the borders of nations and plundered their treasures. Like a mighty warrior, I subjugated the inhabitants. My hand has reached out as if into a nest and seized the wealth of the nations. Like one gathering abandoned eggs, I gathered the whole earth. No wing fluttered, no beak opened or chirped. He's given himself all the credit. This is just like the enemy of our soul. God will just take off his hand and allow him to cause stuff in our life, because if we have sinned and opened doors, that gives an open door to the enemy. So God doesn't have to make bad stuff happen. All he has to do is just lift his hand off of it. And so that's exactly what God did with Jerusalem. As he just lifted his hand off Assyria's like a head. And Satan, just like the king of Assyria, will be like, yeah, look at me. Look at me overpowering these children of God. Look at me. And this is when Satan gets all kinds of cocky and gets stupid and forgets his position and forgets the only reason that he had anything over us is because God allowed him to. So let me just read off some of my notes here and then we'll get into some of it. These are the 3 woes to the enemy. And it says, sometimes God will use the enemy to bring judgment and correction. But woe to the enemy when he gets cocky and forgets he only got one over on us because God willed it. God will quickly remind him of his position. The second woe. Woe to the enemy when the child of God gets back on his feet and repents, because God will empower them to overcome the enemy. This is the third woe. Woe to the enemy when God decrees his destruction. There is nothing more dangerous than a repentant child who has learned to hate their chains that held them and the one who kept them captive, which is the enemy. Sorry, I keep switching you guys around. I said, woe to the enemy when a backslider returns to God. Woe to the enemy when he has us in depression, when he has us in anxiety, when he has us captive in sin. Because as soon as we get out of that mess, we're going to remember why or what that sin did to us. And we're going to learn to hate it. And then we're coming after you. Empowered by God, of course. This whole chapter is just so amazing. Assyria was merely the instrument God used to bring judgment to Israel. If God had not instructed, then they would not have been successful. The only reason the king of Assyria was successful against Jerusalem is because God took his hand off the situation. That's the only reason. And that goes not just for those of us who have overcome sin or have overcome backsliding or just overcome lukewarmness. So, if you're overcoming being lukewarm in your relationship, if you're overcoming depression, anxiety, you're getting your breakthrough, don't forget what those chains felt like. Don't forget what that enemy did to you. Come back, go to God, get empowered, and go after him. Because God has planned his destruction. And then in verse 15, this is chapter 10, verse 15. This is God's answer to the king of Assyria who was like, didn't I do this? And didn't I do this? God's like, does an axe exalt itself above the one who chops with it? Does a saw magnify itself above the one who saws with it? It would be like a rod waving the one who lifts it. It would be like a staff lifting the one who isn't wood. The enemy was just a tool in God's hand. And the second that he exalts himself, because Satan loves to exalt himself. He wants praise. He wants worship. So the second that he gets stupid and exalts himself, That's when God's like, oh, really? Oh, really? Okay, well, now that my child has learned their lesson, now that they have come back and repented, I'm sorry, y'all, my nose itches. My hair just itches my face sometimes. And now that my child has come back and learned their lesson, and they have come back and repented, now you're going to get yours. Because you got cocky. I let you have just a little bit. And it was for the good of my child, little did you know. But I let you have just a little bit, and now you're going to go get cocky. You can't do nothing without me. Are you stupid? I wrote that in my Bible beside where King Assyria was giving his little rant. I said stupid because he was stupid to think that he got all that. Satan is stupid to think he has anything over the children of God. The only time he gets a small victory is when God takes his hand off the situation and allows it in order to bring us correction. Judgment and correction, which only makes us better, which causes us to realize our backslidden state and causes us to realize, oh, I need to repent. Oh, I need to get back to God. So God may allow the enemy to do a little of this or a little of that in your life, but it's only for your betterment. And when you get back and you realize the things that were holding you, and we begin to hate sin, and we begin to understand the tactics of the enemy, then we're like, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that again. I don't want that anymore. And that's when God empowers us. I put a little note to King Assyria or any demonic king of Assyria's. Don't get it twisted, King of Assyria. You are nothing without the Lord. You are only victorious because of the Lord's strength, because he allowed you. That is the only reason. That is the only reason. So don't get it twisted, Satan. The only reason you have any amount of victory over a child of God is so that child of God can realize the state that they're in, get up, repent, get healed, and then go and overcome you. That is the only reason. So the enemy is stupid. He should know by now that when God raises his hand and allows him to mess, it's for the betterment of his child. It's for the learning experience of his child. So woe to the enemy when the enemy gets cocky. Alright, this is just a little message I wanted to bring to you guys. So yeah, I hope this blesses somebody. It really blessed me. And I was I was very thankful for I was actually going to be like, okay, I'm going to take a break from Isaiah today and go read something else for a minute. But I just felt God say, no, go and read it. You'll be thankful that you did. And I am thankful that I did because it is so good. It is so good. Okay, that's it. I will talk to you guys soon, and I will be back with more crafty goodness soon.